I can think of no one I have ever met who is more of a community booster and has done more for this community than the person I'm about to introduce, who will accept the award for Global Cleveland. He was born just before the Great Depression started. He quickly incorporated the values his father and mother espoused and exhibited of family, community, and business. During the Great Depression, the family that ran a lumber yard loaned most any builder 2 lots and lumber to build, telling the builders to pay back later when they sold the houses they built. That immigrant and those early family values brought jobs to Greater Cleveland. Cleveland in that era was known as Forest City, which is where the name of the company he headed for 4 decades came from. It was that immigration, his push on kids and education, and controlling costs that are forerunners of Global Cleveland Group, or this city's tribe, as we call it. Albert, from his preteens on, had always had jobs loading and unloading lumber side by side with immigrants in the early years. That is where he learned how important all immigrants, and Hungarians too, were to our country and to Greater Cleveland. And maybe that's where he learned that the best women in the world were at least half Hungarian, because both of his wives were. Took the job of putting window panes on garages that Forest City built as his summer job, but more on that in a few seconds. First, some personal reflections on the man. I regularly learn at his knee and try to defeat him at ping pong many Saturdays. I'm better than he is, but his spirit, his indomitable will to win. It hurts me to even say this. And is doing what is necessary to win, usually find a way to win and to beat me at ping pong in all but the most important exhibition games. He went on to Case on a basketball scholarship and served on the Army's basketball team during World War II. How did he get that good at basketball, you might ask? Well, he persuaded his coworkers, rumor has it, when he was a teen. He persuaded those coworkers on the garage building jobs to drop him off for basketball courts where he practiced long and hard to get good. And then he would get back to the window pane replacement late in the day. His dad paid him 5 cents for every pane on the garage windows correctly inserted, but docked 25 cents for every garage window pane he dropped and broke. At the end of the summer, he owed his dad $13. Basketball was more important. He didn't want to finish college after the war, telling his mom he'd only go to a college that taught something about lumber, thinking he had her in the corner since he didn't think she'd be able to find one. Remember, there wasn't an internet at that day. His mom was smarter than that. She found that Michigan State had a course in lumber marketing. So now it seems there's some green and white of Michigan State at every Ohio function, because Albert is there. Forest City, after the war, continued to loan East European immigrants and any returning soldier 2 lots and all the lumber necessary to build homes till they sold what they were building. That helped develop Greater Cleveland. They did that till they sold the lumber store business to Handy Andy. And by then, Albert and Sam were leading Forest City, both the company and this city. His dad told the story of a Mr. May of the May Company trying to hire Albert and pay him a large salary, saying how brilliant Albert was. His father replied, "Albert's not brilliant, and I'm not going to pay him a lot." Family and Albert stayed with Forest City. His commitment to building and rebuilding the city can be seen in contributing to building religious institutions. Many worthy religious charities you can help grow, he would say, but only a house of worship can help grow the worshipers. Albert and Forest City could have moved to virtually any other city where they had major developments, and they do in most cities. But Albert says he can live here. You've trained, as I have, and spent time at what considered great institutions elsewhere, and I've been at UC San Francisco and Harvard and Hopkins, etc. All of these institutions considered great institutions. You're quickly blown away if you get into our operating rooms and see the quality here. Bias causes me to say that the clinic is a great institution, and how smart Toby was in pushing outcome studies long before everyone else. And they make us docs and your hospitals, health services much better. But other institutions I know of in town, like UH, where my wife cares for kids, are no slouches either. And I have to throw out to them if I want to go home and sleep in my bedroom tonight. Yes, this is one reason Cleveland is such a great town, those meds you mentioned. But it's a great town to live in and retire to. And yes, the culture and mind and body stimulation of great institutions, parks and people, and fun of major sports team are important. But as Albert and Robin both indicate, you can live here because the medicine is so great. Yes, that's why you should wake up in Cleveland. To paraphrase Robin, everyone should have the chance if they need medical care. It's that good and that much better. And yes, those who fostered medical care, like Albert and Jewish and Hungarian immigrants, are to be thanked for that. Albert loves this city and his work, and this is from his daughter. On one of several occasions when my father had a stent put in his heart, I stayed in the hospital with him. He woke up at about 5 a.m. and every 15 minutes would ask me the time. From 5 a.m. to 6:29 a.m., I was watching his heart monitor, and the numbers kept going up progressively. I was beginning to worry that I was going to have to call the doctor because of a code or something worse. But at 6:30, he said to me, "Finally, you can call the office now." Sure enough, I called his office, and he spoke to one of his early morning buddies. His heart rate immediately dropped. That shows how much my father loves his work and loves to work. I can only add that as I've dealt with Albert, he's the only 84-year-old gentleman who makes 25-year business plans that I know of, and he expects to see them to fruition. His commitment, yeah, that's right. His commitment to building and rebuilding this city can be seen in Forest City's purchase of and his and Audrey's renovation of Tower City. In fact, his commitment can be seen in persuading Audrey to move here from her beloved Chicago, and they're rebuilding Tower City together. His commitment to the city can be seen in Forest City's and his and Audrey's support of almost every civic charity, from the orchestra to the art museum to the rock hall to the Browns to the air show. He loves this country, this city, and this community. It is always for the Forest City, or as he says, family, community, and business go in that order. And I have a quote that is one of his favorite poems that I hear periodically. And he says it like this. It was read to him by his mother. And I've edited it a little bit. He drew a circle and shut me out. But love and I, that's Albert, had the wit to win. We drew a circle and took him in. He remembers to be all-inclusive at all times. He also has 3 other favorite phrases. If you remember where you came from, you'll always know where you are going. There's no limit to what you can get done if you don't care who gets the credit. And seek to understand, and then be understood. And all who follow him will be like his favorite phrase, I am like a pygmy standing on the shoulders of the giants of my family's past. And he considers all Cleveland his family. I know we are but pygmies standing on his shoulders as we move and as he moves global Cleveland forward. I give you Al Ratner. Please stand.